All right, good morning, ladies, both in person and virtual. Welcome to class number 3 in our 7-part series. If anyone needs a pen,
Yes.
here you go. Anyone else need a pen? Sheila, Michelle, Mila. Okay, they're here if you need them. All right, so first of all, welcome back to class number 3. And before we even dive in, if you notice, I just handed out a paper, and on top of it, I'm going to hold it up so you can see. It says the long, short of it, and the short and long of it. And you'll see there's 4 boxes in there. It says fad diet versus healthy lifestyle. All right, and so I want you to fill in the box, and if you are in virtual, you can just jot it down or think it in your head. All is fine. What are the benefits to a fad diet, the challenges to a fad diet, the benefits to healthy lifestyle, and the challenges to healthy lifestyle? Because we know there's benefits and challenges to everything. And then the question is, why would someone choose a fad diet despite its challenges? And why would someone choose a healthy lifestyle despite the challenges? And that's going to be an introduction to today's class. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to go ahead and fill it out.
That's interesting.
Yes, and it's going to be a great introduction to how what we talk about today.
Question is, I think a lot about why we eat.
Well, we have to
What
eat
makes
to
us
survive, but
Right, but there are other reasons why we eat, and maybe that's got to do with, why we have to diet. There are more things.
I hear you. So let's write down the pluses and the minuses of each.
Sheila.
We want to hear the pluses and minuses of each. If anybody wants to share out loud while everyone's writing, what would be a benefit of a fad diet? Anyone?
It's nice for what you eat is nice.
Of a fad diet?
Fat.
No, not fat. Fad. Like those like in style, like we're gonna lose 10 pounds in one day kind of diet. You know what I'm talking about? Like, in 1 week you'll lose 15 pounds. Fad. Yeah. And that's
I didn't know that.
Faster results.
Faster results, yes.
Quick start.
Quick start. Okay. Anybody know what is a challenge of a fad diet?
It doesn't work.
It doesn't last. Exactly. On the screen, anyone can tell me a benefit of a healthy lifestyle?
I think
Long
hopefully
term.
you live longer.
Long term.
Okay, we're getting you live longer, health benefits. And what are challenges of a healthy lifestyle?
Patience with the result.
Patience with the result.
Patience.
Yes. Okay. So why would someone choose a fad diet despite the challenges that it probably won't last?
The other term would.
No, you need the quick fix. You need
Yeah.
to get into the dress.
Thank you. Right. You need your quick fix. I need to lose 10 pounds right now. I remember when I was in seminary. So it was the year right after high school. And I actually was in seminary here in Florida. And we all had a trip to New York, I guess, to visit our families. And we hadn't seen them in a few months. And, like they say, freshman 15, we'd all gained a little bit of weight. And so I remember a few girls went on the cabbage soup diet for a few days.
Yeah, well, I tried.
Oh,
my
the
God.
smell in the house.
Oh,
It was horrific. And but they're
Yeah,
like,
I
we don't care. We need to lose 15 pounds before we go see our families.
Exactly.
Okay. And why would someone choose a healthy lifestyle despite its challenges?
Does that work? The cabbage diet?
I don't remember. I just remember how gross it smells, to be
Why
very
would I
honest.
Choose that. I guess
Why
so.
would someone choose a healthy lifestyle despite there are challenges?
I guess because of the long-term benefit, I guess.
The long-term benefits. Exactly.
And you
Exactly.
know it's good.
Somebody's also maybe in the house encouraging, they are very fit.
Yes, 100%.
They're to kind of be nudged a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Did anyone make any New Year's resolutions this year? Raise your hand on the screen if you made any New Year's resolutions. Me neither. That was my New Year's resolution. Anybody else? Nobody?
This year.
You're like, we've learned the hard way.
No.
When you've made them in the past, did you actually stick to it? No?
Some.
Some.
Yeah.
Very
short term.
All right.
Yeah,
What?
I definitely got better this year.
Yeah, okay.
I stepped out of my comfort zone, and that's a big thing.
It's a huge thing, not just a
Yeah,
big
when
thing.
I went to Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
took flying time 24 hours.
Wow.
Flying time. All the same day. One day, 24 hours. From
Okay.
One plane, 3 planes.
Wow.
But not only that,
Mm-hmm.
with 2 tigers.
Me too, I did the
Did
same
you?
thing just
Oh, no
3
way.
days ago. No way.
You went to China?
Just got that.
Oh,
Not if you paid me.
How do you
No,
like
no,
it?
exactly. Not $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but let's not take class time for it. We'll do that.
Okay. All right, so Sheila says she's definitely kept to some of her resolutions at times, but the overall consensus is we've stopped bothering because they don't work. Is that the overall consensus? Give me a thumbs up if that's the consensus. It's mine. All right. So there's a good joke about a rabbi who passes away and he's in heaven. There's a waiting room full of people. And in front of him, there's a man very loudly dressed. He has a very colorful shirt. He looks at, he says, his name is Moshe Levi. He's from Tel Aviv. And he was a taxi driver. And the angel Gabriel is busy, letting people in. So he calls Mr. Moshe Levi and he goes, oh, Reb Moshe, you have a place right inside. Come right on in. And he ushers him inside. And then he says, okay, Rabbi, listen, we have a little bit of a backlog here. So if you can just sit down and we'll get to you in a little bit. And he goes, excuse me, I'm the rabbi. This guy this is like a taxi driver. How come he gets in and then me, I have to wait? He goes, listen, up here, we work on results. When you gave your speeches, people slept. When people drove in Mr. Moshe's taxi, they prayed. So, all right. It's a joke, obviously. So last month, we talked about how we're having our meetings with the Alter Rebbe and the Tanya, and what we're doing is we're having our toolbox. We're creating our toolbox. Every lesson will be another meeting, another tool that we get in our toolbox of how can we be a Benoni? How can we overcome some of our negative impulses and want to do better? How can we do that? So last month was self-control. And I think we met in the beginning of the class and you said, I've been reading this book. I gotta tell you, it ain't easy. Okay. So I wanted to find out, how did last month go? We talked about self-control. Self-control is something all of us are capable of. I mean, we're not talking about someone struggling with many health issues or mental capacity issues, but generally we have self-control. Like, I'm not going to right now into the street and start dancing like a crazy person. Like, I have self-control that it's not going to happen. So the question is, how did it go? Anybody want to chime in virtually, in person? How did it go? Were there any moments? Did it last? I want to hear.
I struggled a lot.
Keep going.
Okay, very clear example. I'm very impatient. And I tend to do, as most women here, several things at the same time. And I'm very impatient. So at this moment, I have all my kids and grandkids visiting from Argentina, living with us. So my
That's why you
living
ran
room,
away so
my
nicely.
kitchen, my house, my apartment is not tidy. I keep on picking up things all the time, and just the sight of the untidiness and everything thrown everywhere drives me nuts.
I commiserate very much with you.
So
My sister in spirit.
Mine too.
So the first 4 days, I was in a very bad mood. You could tell in my face, although I struggled to try and pretend that everything was great.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled, but I was really in a very bad mood, and I went to bed. I was very nasty to myself. I didn't like myself. I didn't like being there. I mean, it was a whole mess. And somebody talked to me, my Kabbalah teacher, and he told me, that is your tikkun. That is your struggle. That is what you have to do. And he switched me like this. So I'm struggling. It's not nice. It's
not
have
nice.
my tools.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Okay,
I-
so
it's
actually,
not
what you
smooth.
just said literally touched on a part of what we're going to talk about. Anybody else want to share a Benoni moment or something that they succeeded or struggled with this month? Anyone on the Zoom or? What?
When my kids come
No, no,
from
that's
the
funny.
house, I don't pay attention.
That's
That's
amazing.
That's what I.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
they
So
say,
I
"I'm
live
not
with my kids.
in the house," when they're not in the house.
There could be 8 pairs of shoes
Yeah.
right in the hall when you
It's
walk
okay,
in the door,
toys.
you trip over them.
Yeah.
Well, we all have our thing. Yes.
I just when I put they leave, they come back. Yeah.
I hear you. So I live with my children, so they don't really ever leave. Um, and I'm one of those people that when the house is clean, my brain is clean. Does that make sense? Like I need, you know, like that. So it's always a struggle that I have. So yes, and I feel you because some days we definitely succeed at better than others. I mean, I'm sure people on here can agree. All right. So so what I'm hearing is that a lot of people, the self-control we know we have, but it's not easy. Am I feeling the room? All right. So the question is why? So there's a very interesting concept called white knuckling. You ever heard of it?
No.
So you know, I mean, okay, you know when you go on that roller coaster, but you don't really like roller coasters, but you're going just to be nice to your friend, and you're sitting on there and you're holding on to the thing, and your knuckles are white because you're just like, please God, let this be over. Please God, let
Yes.
this be over, and let me survive.
Yes.
You know that feeling? Or some people hate flying, and they're just like until the plane lands. Or you know that you're supposed to exercise every day because it's good for you, and you're on that treadmill, and you're like, oh, just like please let those 30 minutes be over. That is the concept of white knuckling. We're doing it and we're miserable. Our knuckles are white from holding on so tight. We're having self-control. We're doing what we're supposed to do. But let me tell you something. We're not very happy, right? That is the concept of that is one of the downsides of self-control. Let's just put it that way.
So the trick is,
We're gonna, 1 second. All right. So we're getting there, Michelle. We're getting there. Today is just today is just one of the tools that we're learning. So I don't know if any of you have ever taught, but I think most of you do have children. So we all know that every child does differently in different teachers' classrooms and different events. And we've all had that kid. You know, we all have that. We all have that kid who, when they go to school and they either it's the teacher that year or what they're learning, they're either bored, they can't, you know, they're fidgeting, they're all over the place. So of course we tell the kid, you know what, you're disturbing the class, you have to have self-control, but that's only going to take us so far. But what does the teacher have to do? The teacher has to find ways to engage the child in whatever way that some kids need to be sent on a lot of errands. Some kids need to be given some extra credit. Some kids need to be given some adjustments, but it's up to the teacher or the person in the classroom to kind of work with. Self-control only gets us so far to kind of work with that person. And we see that in many areas of life, to kind of work with that person to get them where they need to be. So there's a lot of internal tension when our impulse is telling us go here and our mind is telling us go over there. So for example, I got this rubber band, right? So my rubber band is perfect right now. This is me, and this is where I want to be. Now, let me ask you, what happens when I do self-control? I start stretching, and I start stretching a little more. Ladies, what's going to happen?
It's gonna break.
Okay, so 3 things can happen, right? First of all, whoosh, I backslide, right? I say, forget it. I'm not even bothering trying. It's not going to work. Forget it. I can say, no, but I have to make this work. Like what after? And then either I can have an emotional breakdown because there's only so much, there's only so far this thing can stretch. So I'm going to have an emotional breakdown because there's only so far that our limits can be tested. And unfortunately, we've all been there in some degree or another. And then there is a third option. And the third option is that I need to learn how to make my emotions match with the goal that I want to reach. And then what will happen is it'll make it a little easier so that I'm not being stretched so much. And it will kind of look like this. Is everyone with me so far? Yes? Okay. So that choice number 3 is what we're going to be talking about today. It's kind of changing our insides so that we can sustain this way of life, meaning we all want to do better. I mean, most people do. Like, we're all generally good people inside. So we all kind of want to do better. The question is, I can't just do self-control all day. It works sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time. So we know that we're never going to be at tzaddik. It's just not within our reach. It's just not. So we want to kind of work towards being the best that we can. A tzaddik is someone who never struggles. Great. Kudos to him or her. That's amazing. But unfortunately, I don't think it applies to many of us.
Is that actually a perfect person?
Yes, a tzaddik. Like I can think of Moses, King David. I can think of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Those are people who are a tzaddik. They are perfectly good inside and out in every way. But like we say, God saw when he created the world how few the tzaddikim would be. So he sprinkled them out very scarcely throughout all the generations because there would be so few of them. So the majority of us are great people. We want to do better. We want to do good, but we're flawed inside, and it's just the way we were created. So if you had someone joining your family, your siblings getting married, your child's getting married, you have a friend getting, someone's joining the family, and you knew you wanted to love that person, right? Like, my brother got married. I want to like my new sister-in-law. I don't know who she is. Your child's getting married. I want to like their spouse. What would you do? What would you do to forge a relationship with them? Ladies, feel
You
free to
invite
chime in.
them, Invite them home, you host them,
Mhm.
you ask about their lives,
Mhm.
what they like, what they don't like, you tell them about yourself, you start engaging.
You forge a relationship and you look
Yeah.
for things that you admire and like and vice versa. And that's usually how it goes. So the question is, how do we develop emotion? So there's an interesting story about a Talmudic or Mishnaic sage. I don't remember which one. His name is Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania. And he was once journeying and he gets to a city and he doesn't know how to get into the city. And he sees a little boy playing in the field. He goes, "Excuse me, little boy, how do I get to this city that I see here?" And he goes, "Well, do you want the short, long way or do you want the long, short way?" And he goes, "Duh, I want the short, long way. I want to make this a quick thing." He goes, "Okay, look, it's right here on top of the hill. Just go." And he goes there and he sees he has to cross a little body of water. He has to climb through an orchard. There's rusty things over there. A few hours later, he comes back and he goes, "Okay, you tricked me, kid. What's the long, short way?" And he goes, "Oh, you see that road? That road goes all the way around. Whatever you just saw, it's very smooth. Just go all the way around that long road. And that's how you get to the city." We live here on the ocean, right? So, you take a walk sometimes and you see like Harbor Islands. If there was a sidewalk there or a quick shuttle, it would take 5 minutes to cross the intracoastal, right?
Yes,
Do you know how long it takes them to walk to shore on Shabbos?
I know,
You know,
I do
you
know.
she
Yeah.
it takes 20 to 30 minutes. But
30
if you were
minutes.
able to just, walk on
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
you'd be here in 5, right? That's why I always think of what's the long short way, the short long way. So let's turn. We're gonna open our books finally, and we're gonna turn to page 54, exercise 3.1. And Michelle, do you mind reading it?
I do not mind. And why doesn't the city just build a little footpath?
I've been doing it for a long time.
I'm rooting for it.
Exercise 3.1,
Mhm.
starting there, or
Mhm.
text 1?
3.1,
Okay.
exercise 3.1.
The long way. Create new feelings. You receive a call from an aunt you haven't seen since childhood, inquiring if she can stay with you for a week. The truth is that while she is your aunt, you hardly know her, don't feel close to her, and are not very excited about hosting her. Feeling somewhat ambivalent, you decide to call your mother. She eagerly relates to this that the aunt was her favorite sister growing up. It's to you. She takes you down memory lane, sharing stories, vividly describing how much this aunt means to her and how much she was a part of your childhood. Your mom sends you photos of her favorite sister babysitting for you, making cookies, dancing, playing with you in the park. As the memories slowly begin flooding back, your feelings about hosting your aunt begin to change. How did thinking about your aunt change your feelings about hosting her for a week? Can you think of situations where you developed feelings and enthusiasm for a daunting task, though through contemplation and thinking?
Can anyone relate?
I don't want to be the one talking today all the time, but this is what's happening to me.
Exactly. So
Having
what
all
happened?
my
Exactly.
grandkids.
Exactly. What happens? We have a situation coming up, like her aunt asked, we live in South Florida. Everybody comes here, right?
Yeah.
Can I stay by you? I don't even know you, but sure. Then all of a sudden we try to find a better spin, like, oh, and then when we think about it and kind of feel it, all of a sudden it becomes easier for us. We go from this starts stretching a little
Mhm.
less.
Start looking forward
Exactly.
to it.
So there's a joke about 2 guys are out and one guy says, "You look like you're a little bit down. What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, I'm having girl problems. This girl that I'm dating." He goes, "What's the matter?" He goes, "I asked her if she could learn to love me. And she asked how much I'm willing to spend on her education."
Uh-huh.
Good morning.
I'm so good.
You're perfect. Come on in. If you can maybe share with Mila over there.
Sure.
Come on in, grab a plate. So the more we think about something, the more we contemplate it, the more we care, the more awareness we have, that helps us have a better feeling towards the task at hand. And I say contemplate, I don't say meditation, because I think today, a lot of the way we think of meditation, especially when you do all like the breathing work and all that stuff, that meditation comes today. Meditation usually involves deep breathing, clear your mind, allow your thoughts to, that's what we think of meditation. So I don't really like to use the word meditation here, because here we're not clearing our mind. Here we're actually having an idea in our mind, right? So I like the word contemplation, because what we're doing is we're taking a thought or a goal in mind. And what we're doing is we're thinking, how can I create the feelings towards it? For example, Adriana's going to like this very much. I don't like sports. Never did. Probably never will. It's not my thing. My father and my brothers were Yankee fans. I had to suffer through listening to the games in the car when we were driving. Really not something I care about. Thank God my husband is not so into sports. I don't have to suffer through it now, but it's really not my thing. A few weeks ago, we had a wonderful Shabbat guest in our home on Friday night. She's sitting right here. Her name is Adriana. And we're sitting at the Shabbat table, and she is fired up. You know why? Apparently the World Cup is going on. I knew the World Cup was going on. Meh, I don't really care. Okay. And she starts saying she's from Argentina, and Argentina finally has made it to the final, and they're going up against France, and there's this huge game on Sunday, and she tells me about this player named Messi and how this is his last season, and he's gonna, if he wins, he finally gets to end up his career. And my interest is piqued. I don't like sports. I don't care about sports. But I see the fire that is burning in beautiful Adriana's heart and telling me, I like human interest stories. That's my thing. And she's telling me about this bestie and how he's married and he has 4 beautiful children. I'm interested. I'm not gonna lie, she piques my interest. And so Sunday morning, my son and I are like relaxing on the couch, and I'm like, oh, like the game is still going on. So I Google it. I happened to open up a Google, and I happened to get, and I watched like the last 3 minutes of the game. And it was it was a really cool game, apparently, I'm told, since I don't really follow sports. And I see that they win. And my husband is sitting here in the show, and he goes, you can hear like the ground shaking, the whole hide erupted because all the Argentinians were staying there. And I meet Adriana later, and I see the by the Hanukkah thing, and everyone's dressed in their white and light blue shirts. And what happened? She took a topic that I have no interest in, but I love Adriana, and I see what she's so interested in. She was so fired up, and she tells me all these things, and all of a sudden I thought about it, and I connected to it, and then also I started caring. It was like interesting. And now on my Instagram, you know, like all those TikToks show up, all I keep seeing is Messi. Anyways, it keeps showing up because I guess one time I clicked on it, and now whatever. So that is a very good example of something that, like I say, a very basic, you know, not good, not bad example of things that I don't really care about, but it's something that I cared about now. You ever read a biography about somebody? Yeah. And then all of a sudden you start seeing it in the news? Even though you never met the person, you feel like, oh, I know about this person. I read about them. So when we think about something, generally emotions do start to follow. So let's turn to text number 1, which is on page 55. Ellie, do you mind reading?
Yeah. A principal rule of the Benoni. How do you say it? Benoni. Divine service is to actively assert control over one's natural drives. This is accomplished by intellectually contemplating God's infinite greatness so that one's understanding begets an immediate awareness of God and an awe of Him. This awareness and awe then motivate the individual to turn away from evil, love God in the heart, and attach to Him by fulfilling the mitzvah, biblical and rabbinical.
Thank you. So the Tanya recognizes that all of us are in different levels and stages in life. Not everybody is capable at this point in life of being overcome with feelings of love and it's not, but we all have minds and we all can think. So any level of emotion is helpful because that level of emotion will hopefully push us to do the right thing. For example, okay, you're having a hard week. It happens to us all, right? And your friend is making a wedding or a bar mitzvah or a something. And you know what? You know what you want to do? But